Hello and welcome to another video, the match preview for Manchester United versus Nottingham Forest. And a new look Nottingham Forest with their third manager in as many months. We are at the end of October, I guess November 1st when the game is there. Nottingham Forest on 5 points after 9 games. Manchester United on 16 points. But it is a big game. It is a big game. It's going to be a different game because, of course, now Nottingham Forest have a new manager in place in Sean Dyche. Now, how much that actually means, I think, could certainly be overstated. I think it's hard to suggest necessarily that a manager is going to have an instant impact on the quality of a team and all of that. But I will say that Sean Dyche certainly fits in the way that Nottingham Forest have been successful or were more successful last year and wanted to play more directly. But let's take a look at the table last year, because this is one of those ones where, when I've done stat videos in the past, I told you the table doesn't lie. The stats don't lie. They may lie briefly, but it's permanent. Last season, while Nottingham Forest actually finished in 7th, in terms of expected goals, they were all the way down in about 14th. In terms of expected points, they were all the way down in about 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, about 14th. And so they were the biggest overperformers of the last season. And so to a degree, it was kind of always expected that, look, guys, they're not actually that good. How did Forest play? Of course, last season they played a deep block. They played a very, very low, deep brand of football, high counterattacking. If you remember United's game at the City Ground, which you have struggled at, losing 1-0, I think, in that game, it was, of course, off of our own corner. Anthony Elanga runs through Garnacho, too scared to take him down, runs right through the team. They go on and score a goal. I think about 3 or 4 players could have done better on that. And then we just couldn't punch it through their defensive block. Now, we had that problem many times. If you look at the Europa League final, of course, we could have played Tottenham for probably 2 games, and we probably wouldn't have broken through that defensive block. Now, it's a little bit difficult to analyze the stats for Forest, given, of course, that they have changed managers, but the reality of it is they're on 5 points. And so that's obviously a reflection of the manager, but also reflections of the, of the players, of the quality, and of the kind of the imbalance that they've had since last season. They bought a bunch of players and sort of hoped it would work out. Seems like Marinakis is doing a bit of a Chelsea light. Just buy a bunch of players, change managers constantly, and hope it works. In terms of expected goals, they're about where they should be. They're 17th in the league, and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 15th in expected goals, or they're 18th in the league on points, and it's not much more than where their league position actually is. And defensively, it's the same. They're the 3rd worst defensive team in the entire Premier League. United, of course, scored 3 goals against Burnley. United beat a fair few of these teams, and United are not that bad anymore when you look at it. In fact, United have an expected goal differential of like +5, while Forest have a -8. And in terms of expected points, they're really only supposed to be on 7. So they really are where they should be. So we can debate the manager changes, we can worry about this and that, but the fact remains, this is the type of game that United should be winning. And that, frankly, it just comes down to one thing and one thing only. Will United take their chances? There's really nothing else to it but a game like this. You're going to face a low block. You're going to face a team that doesn't necessarily want to have a ton of the ball. You're going to face a team that's going to defend deep. You got to score your chances. There's really not much else to say about a game like this. People can read into it way too much. This is not going to be some sort of crazy tactical, display. We know exactly what Sean Dyche is going to do. We know exactly how he's going to attack. We know exactly how he's going to defend. There's really not much in it, as much as people would want. I do think the one thing Amorim has to do is get the team right. If we look at a few of the kind of stats and take a look, we can see a couple factors here. Forest, of course, and look, because they've changed managers, it's hard to measure some of this. But Forest are a counter-attacking side primarily. They're probably going to press even less under Dyche than they were before, which their press was bottom half, but not too low. It's not like Crystal Palace in that respect. They're going to play a bit like Brentford. They want to counter. They want to get at you quickly. They want to attack you directly. But if we go back and look at, say, let's see, where's teams, and look at their radar, I think, for last year, and kind of take a look at how they've played, you can see it. It's really not too dissimilar. They've played a bit more possession this year, but that probably changes under Dyche. But you can see this is what they're good at. Counter quickly. Don't press too much. Don't play with too much of the ball. That's how they mostly played last year, and defend astutely. I think Sean Dyche will have them moving a bit closer in that direction in terms of intent. So it's hard. It's hard to read into a game like this too much. You know, they are a counter-attacking, fast-attacking side. And like Ruben Amorim said, well, we fast attack too, but you know, we're not necessarily going to have the same spaces available to us as we did in prior games. So a lot of those artificial transitions, a lot of those manipulated, you know, counterattacks are going to be maybe a bit harder to pull off. And we're going to need to settle into a bit more control and possession in the attacking half as they sit off of us, which is what they're very likely to do. If Forest are looking, and Sean Dyche is looking at what United are good at in recent weeks and times, they're going to want to sit off. And that's going to be their sort of counterplay, is to say, we'll sit off, not give you those spaces to have Mbumo running at us, to have Ahmad running at us, to have all these players running at us, and just see if you can break us down. Now, the difference between this United team and last year's United team in breaking down league deep blocks is massive. It's Cunha, it's Ahmad, it's Mbumo, and it's Šeško. The simple quality that they have in that team, their ability to score from long shots, shout out JJ Bullshit, is going to really be one of the big difference makers in allowing them to break a team like this down and score, even if they sit kind of deep. This is where things like long shots can actually be quite useful. But in addition, their set pieces, going in off of corners where they've actually done decently well, certain set piece plays. The one question I have, and the one thing that Amorim might be tempted to do, though I think not, because Harry Maguire, I believe, is potentially still out, I was going to say, is make the mistake he made against Brentford in selecting the team. And I think this is really all it comes down to in terms of winning this game. And in terms of Amorim, you can't do much. It's really going to be on the players. This is not going to be a big tactical display. It's going to be on the players. Play smart, play well, take your chances. Don't do any stupid turnovers to give Forest some crazy 2-3-on-1 counterattack from some poor pass or something like that. Now, I picked the same team that I wanted to see last week. Obviously, you're probably going to see Dalot in here again, but I do wonder if Ruben Amorim will opt for any changes in the side, given that he said we will not have the spaces available. Now, again, one of the biggest mistakes I think he could make is assuming that maybe with the spaces not available that you don't play Ahmad. I think it's, of course, the exact opposite. The reason I want Dorgu is I want his left foot. In terms of playing against a deep block, even though Dorgu hasn't been great recently, neither is Dalot, but I think he has been a little bit better than what we've seen in some recent games from Dorgu. When you're playing a block like this, you really need to be able to stretch the pitch. If United are already watching and playing with a left-footed right winger that kind of wants to tuck in a bit, even though Ahmad is very competent at going down to his right, I don't want another one here, because with an already compact defensive block, this can make the pitch really, really small. Instead, if you can get these left-footed crosses in and drives to the byline from Dorgu on that side, it's going to open up a few more spaces. It's going to allow some gaps for Bruno to run in, for Casemiro to attack, and even as we saw in some deep block games, I think it was against Fulham and a few others last year when it was Lissandro, the center backs to crash in through these areas and actually contribute to the attack from defensive areas, breaking the lines and adding an extra man and overload. But that doesn't work if the fullback is tucked in. So I'm quite curious to see if he makes that adjustment. When you're playing against these defensive teams, you've got to be wider. And we've been more narrow in recent games in the way that we're playing against Brighton and Liverpool because it suited the game. But against a team like, Forest, you need to be wider. Now, could you do the opposite? Put Ahmad on this side on his natural left foot, then keep Dalot over here and put him on his right foot? You could do that. I wouldn't. I would just keep this going either way. and get Dorgu out to this side to widen the pitch a little bit. But frankly, I think that's the only deciding factor in this game is, do we get the lineup decently correct? And, we've talked about before, there's things that you can compromise on. The back line, you could fit Mazraoui into one of those positions potentially. I don't know who you drop because I think they've all been good. In the midfield, I don't think you change it because Casemiro and Bruno are still your best midfield pairing, but they're also quite good at unlocking a defense with their passing and things like that. Could you go for someone like Ugarte in there so that you can get more counter pressing, since you're going to be staying higher up the pitch and you're going to want to win the ball back quicker? Maybe, but it has its risks. Could you go with someone like Mason Mount at wingback? The crazy shout we've all seen that is actually maybe not that crazy, just to get more technical quality and breakdown on the pitch? Maybe. We'll see. But what you can't do is get rid of the front line that seems to be clicking now. The size you get with Šeško, where you might need it on set pieces. And, of course, the midfield pairing, Lamens, Ahmad. There's a lot of uncompromisables, but there are some things he could tweak for this game, so we'll have to see. But as long as the lineup is fairly decent, Forest aren't good. United should win. Lastly, make sure to head over to Big Up and enter the Muppeteers Fantasy Competition. Free to play, win big bucks. You don't even have to take a trip anywhere. Pick your players that are going to contribute most and earn some prizes over there. It's free to play, free to join, and all the rest. And yes, don't forget to get your Muppeteers merchandise as well. As you can see down below, head to the website as the weather gets cold. Got a bunch of sweaters and cool designs to keep you warm. So that's it. I think United win this 2-0. I think it should be fairly routine. Again, Forest, for everything, have allowed a lot of chances, even as a defensive team. I just don't think they're very good. Really, there's no excuse for United not to take this win, bring it 4 in a row into a bigger game at the next weekend against Spurs. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. See you in the next one.